Hi, team. It's Dr. Ashley McGrath here. The Workplace Gender Equality Agency in Australia has recently released their latest gender equity scorecard. And gender equity data nerd that I am, I decided to do some of my own analysis, which I'm keen to share with you today. So, what I've done here on the screen, you can see on the left hand side there is a list of all the different industries which the data represents, and across the top are some data points which I'm particularly interested in. So what we're going to do today is just have a look through each of these categories and just have a play around with the data and see what we can find. Apart from the first column, that's all I've looked at. So this is all news to me as well. So we're going through this together. So the first thing I wanted to just show is looking at the different industries, and this represents a total employee range of about 5 million. Is just to look at the average total gender pay gap. So that's the gender pay gap of base salaries plus bonuses, overtime, superannuation, and things. So as we can see, construction has the highest average gender pay gap in Australia. Moving down, some other industries which don't usually get mentioned as much as some of the other known culprits, the finance and insurance industry, rental and real estate, and then followed by mining and some of the utilities industries. Just to scroll down, some of the lowest gender pay gaps in our country: health and social care, public admin and safety, and accommodation and food services. So, what's going on there that we can learn in these industries? Moving on now to the overall representation of women. Australia does have one of the most industry segregated by gender in terms of the whole world. So let's have a look and see. We'll just filter it by highest to lowest. So our most feminized industries here in Australia, no surprises, health and social care, closely followed by education and training. Some of the most gender balanced: arts and recreation, accommodation and food services. And then some of the most male dominated industries: still construction, followed by mining, and then transport, postal, and warehousing. Moving on now to the percentage of women in management roles. So if we filter that from highest to lowest, so that's pretty interesting. So health and social care has not only the most feminized overall as an industry, but also the highest percentage of women. I actually thought that was going to be higher towards men because they notoriously have had a much higher gender pay gap. It was about 13% only a few years ago. So don't know what's happened there, but well done, health and social care. Moving on now, education and training, again, keeping in line with the fact that it's quite highly feminized overall. Let's look for any anomalies as we go down. It's all pretty well in line with their overall representation of women. The lowest again goes to construction. Moving on now to the percentage of women who are working full time. So let's again filter that from highest to smallest. It's actually quite in line with the previous column. I'm not sure if you just noticed that as I filtered it. So I suppose what I'm looking for here is the ones which are most gender balanced. So that would be in terms of men and women working full time, being quite balanced, which is ideally what we want to see. Actually, the finance and insurance industry, even though that had a really high gender pay gap, and accommodation and food services are some of the most gender balanced there. And again, sorry, construction industry. Yet again, you are the 2025 loser for the most the most men working part time and the least women working part time. So, moving on now to another interesting data point, which I would love to see increase, is the percentage of men who are working part time. So, again, let's filter that from highest to lowest, and I'm keen to see who's the most balanced. So it's probably between these two. Admin and support as an industry and arts and recreation have the most men working part time. So that's good. Um, some of the highest proportion of men working part time, postal and warehousing and transport. I didn't see that coming. That's interesting. Um, and then we've got the public admin and safety with quite a high proportion of men working part time, which is great to see. Finance and insurance actually have the lowest representation of men working part time. Moving on now to the percentage of promotions which were women. So this is an important indicator which I like to look at. So we'll just do by largest to highest again. So who is promoting the most women across our country? Health and social care is takes out the top prize, closely followed by education and training and retail. And let's just look to the bottom of the list. Sorry, friends in construction, you're on there again. Out of all the people that you're promoting, only 17% were women, and that's quite significantly the lowest. Mining, the second closest, is much higher at 25%. Now, let's also look at the percentage of women which are leaving the different industries across Australia. So let's filter that again from highest to lowest. So interesting. So while health and social care has a low gender pay gap, high levels of women in overall and in management, it's also got the highest proportion of women who are leaving the industry. Closest to balance is information media and tech, and the industry which is retaining the highest percentage of women is actually mining. So, out of all of the resignations in the mining industry, only 22% were women. Now, obviously, their overall representation isn't great, but just as a data point, that's interesting to look at. And finally, the percentage of men who are taking primary carers leave. So, Wajia announced that this is actually at an all-time high. I think the overall average is 20%, which is a 3 percentage points increased from last year. So that's great to see. But let's just filter to see, out of all of our industries, who's creating that culture and psychological safety for men to really engage in that parental leave. And I love to see this because this is not often expected, that it's actually mining. So, out of all the people on primary carers leave in mining, 53% are men. How cool is that? Kudos to our friends in the mining industry. Another kind of actual surprise for me is the electricity, gas, or our utilities industry is almost gender balanced. Another surprise for me, the construction industry, even though they were the worst performer in some other data points, almost 40% of the people on parental leave are men. So something's happening there. So fair play to the industry for that. And let's just have a quick flick down to, now this is interesting. So health and social care are kind of kicking goals in so many other areas, but only 3% of the people on primary carers leave are men in that industry. So definitely a ways to go there. And, mine, and obviously, if we look again at their overall gender balance, 23% of their overall working population are women, yet 53% of the people taking primary carers leave are men. If we flick down to health and social care, as a reminder, 78% of their overall representation are women, and only 3% of people taking primary carers leave are men. So some of the other low ones there, agriculture, forestry, fishing, retail, that's surprisingly low considering their overall quite a gender balanced industry. And then education and training, isn't that interesting? Yet again, quite a feminized industry, quite a gender balanced in leadership, yet only 6% of people on parental leave are men. So what's going on there? So some good news, some disappointing news, some surprises. Thanks for following. I'm going to record some other videos on some other key data points. So stay tuned. And if there are any kind of interesting gender equity data sets you'd like me to review and give my layperson's analysis of, then feel free to reach out. Speak soon.